Chapter 7 Just Desserts. I'm not sure what's stranger, that I'm somehow eating without sight, hands, or knowing what it is before I bite into it, or the company of 3 princesses and the captain of the guard, or is that 2 goddesses, a demigod, and a seasoned warrior mage, or is it my mother, my aunt, my cousin, and my cousin-in-law? No matter which way you look at it, it's weird. So what do you think? Cadence asked me as I licked my teeth thinking about what I just ate. I think it was a layering of lettuce, some very large and bitter fruit, cheese, olives, and a strange mixture of mustard seeds and honey in between 2 slices of bread. I say, thinking back of whatever it was I just ate. It was good, but odd. But did you like it? She presses on, and I nod. Yes, it was very good. But what was that sliced fruit in it? I ask, and I hear a sigh from Shining Armor. It was tomato. Also, did you have to describe the sandwich? He asks me, and now I'm confused. She asked me what I thought, and I told you what I thought of it. What's the problem? I ask, already guessing where he's going, but it was an honest mistake. I need to get used to being around others again. Never mind, he says shortly, and the fact that he's backed off confuses me for a moment. Have you had enough? Luna asks, and an eyebrow raises. My stomach is very small, so I doubt I could fit much more in it, I say in a guarded tone. I've been hearing a lot of movement going on, and I have no idea who's coming or going. Only their voices let me know that the other 4 sitting had not left. I'm about to say more when the wind howls and I hear something flitting about. It's a powerful spirit, but it's neither dead nor alive. Oh, shit, I say, staring towards where I felt it. What now? Luna asks quickly. I think I just sensed a Wendigo, but moved away before I could be sure. I tell her, and she sighs. They occasionally come out during the winter. Most buildings aren't tinted to warm them off, though, so you're safe. Shining Armor says, and I think on it and nod. If it's a recurring problem, not doing something ahead of time is just stupid. Do they bother you? He asks, and my mind goes back to a few bad encounters. Not when I learned how to drive them off, but I can't control them. They blur the line between elemental and dead spirits, make them impossible to really understand. I explain, rubbing my right arm as I remember one bit a big chunk out of it. What got you? Shining Armor stats clinically, probably noting my movement. Yeah, I was driven into high mountains more than a few times on trying to escape my more skilled enemies. Few are willing to risk the cold, the avalanches, the beasts, the spirits, and the ripping winds of the mountaintop. I say, my voice getting a little deeper as I remember all aspects of the high mountain. A small part of me muses how ridiculous my slightly lower voice sounds. And the ones that are? Shining asks, and I believe he's up to something. If only I knew what. I use the most ridiculously stubborn beings you will ever find, I tell him calmly. It is true that anyone willing to go that far for what they want is ridiculously stubborn. But stubborn doesn't always mean smart or capable. In fact, for most of my enemies, it meant that I only had to worry about the few that had the sense to dress warm enough for the climate, and of that number, I only had to worry about the ones the Wendigo missed. Did you like it there? Cadence asks, and I shrug. Once I could deal with Wendigo mountain tops became a safe haven for me. But their desolate, lonely place with your only fleeting sanity being driven away by the screaming wind for entertainment, I say, growing more serious and trying to glare more and more with every passing word. You do realize we're on a mountain now, right? Luna asked me, and I turned my head toward her, surprised. I thought I was seeing things due to magic interference and blunt force trauma of breaking dimensional barriers, I admit, and there's a bit of laughter from Celestia. So the castle really that far off the mountain? Yes, it is. Celestia assures me, and my jaw drops for a moment. And just how do you stop her from crashing down the side? I demand, concerned that the room I'm in could begin falling at any moment, and there's a little snort. This castle's been here safely for over 1,000 years. It's not going anywhere, Shining says in a matter-of-fact tone. So it's dangling over the side of a mountain, and it's ancient! Well, at least I'll die knowing so many went with me, I mutter into my hooves. You do realize that there are so many spells keeping not only the castle but the entire city of Canterlot up, that even if the mountain were to crumble away, both would still stand? Luna asks me, and I look up incredulously. I think I'd sense a spell like that going on, I tell her flatly, and I can feel her grinning at me practically. Did you happen to spot the roofs of the castle? She asks me, and I shake my head. It's winter, they were covered in snow. The gold plating is covered in fine arcane symbols to not only recharge the stability spells, but cover the noise of the magic. Few are sensitive as you seem to be, but all ponies are to some extent, Luna explains, and it makes sense. Some of my more dangerous enemies wore robes covered in similar markings to sneak up on me. Luckily, the robes were only effective at short range, and those who wore them rarely knew anything about sneaking, which made for hilarious moments when I snuck up on them. I suppose I simply got used to the rest of the noise then, like the wind, I admit before a thought strikes me. Hey, wait. If there's that kind of magic being used throughout the whole castle, then how come I can't use my magic senses to navigate? It comes up dark every time. I muse out loud, then ask pointedly towards Luna, who sighs. It's in the structural supports, not the walls. Almost most of the castle is on the mountain itself and very stable. It's the outer wings like the extra labs and the more fancy guest rooms that are off the mountain. Luna explains, and I nod. A strange sweet scent fills my nose, and something new is placed on the table. And this is? I ask calmly, nodding towards whatever was placed on the table. Cinnamon rolls. You'll like them, Cadence tells me, and I frown. I'll decide whether I like something or not, thank you very much. I feel a bit of magic, and one of the sweet-smelling things is in front of me. I poke it gently. It's soft and it feels like bread, so I guess it's a pastry. I have no idea what cinnamon is. I guess it's a spice, as I've heard of it before. I've never had it, but a lot of people like it, so I take a bite. Oh, dear gods, by my murdered family and all that's preserved me, this is good! But before I can truly enjoy it, it's gone. No, not gone. Eaten. It wasn't big enough. It wasn't enough. More. More! I leap up to get the rest, but I'm forced down by magic. There's a little more magic in an offering of another cinnamon roll presented before me. I accept. I called it, Cadence says, but I ignore her as I devour the treat. There's a laughter, but that's happily ignored. I found a hunk of paradise, and it is cinnamon rolls. I reach for more, but I'm pushed back again. This time there is no offering. I look towards Luna crossly. You can have more later, after your appointment, she tells me, and I turn my head to her. Appointment? What appointment? She seems to sense my question as I lick the delicious flavor off my hoofs. I took the liberty of making you an appointment with a psychologist who's well known for helping guards get past post-traumatic stress disorder. She tells me, and an eyebrow goes up as I try to make sure I lost nothing of the cinnamon rolls. You're not sending him to doctor, are you? Shining ass, and another eyebrow goes up as I lick my teeth to get the last bit of taste off. Who is this doctor? I ask, a little horrified at Shining's nervous tone. You'll find out when you meet him. He's enthusiastic, but very good at his job, he says, trying to assure me. It doesn't assure me. If you come quietly, I'll have warm cinnamon rolls when you're finished, Luna practically sings, and I perk up, honestly tempted. Those things are good. What's this going to involve? I ask cautiously. What's a psychologist? Sounds like a medical craft, but it's not a familiar word. He's just going to talk to you and give you advice. A psychologist is a healer who focuses on the mind. They're trained to understand how certain experiences can affect the mind, and they give advice on how to relax and start living a healthy life again. Celestia explains, and I nod. If he's just going to talk, then not a problem. Unless it's spellcrafting, but I have been promised cinnamon rolls. I guess I'll risk it. Come on, then. I can tell you're full, so it's time to go. Luna says jovially, and I feel Magic pull my chair out, and I find myself on her back again, and she's moving already. Have a nice day, she says happily, and we're off. A few minutes later. So how long is this trip going to take? I ask. Seeing as we've arrived, no time at all, Luna says, and I can hear her smile, practically, before I'm lifted off her back and the door in front of me is opened. She carries me onto what feels like a small bed and then kisses me just beneath the horn. Is that supposed to mean something? Is just under the horn a special place or something? Now, listen to the good doctor. He's here to help you. I wait a minute before the door flies open with a huge bang. All right, fool. I'm Dr. Payne. Now keep your rump planted and get ready to talk. A huge voice half shouts into the room, and by pure instinct I cast a foresight spell and get a good look. He's a huge unicorn in a long white coat with ripped sleeves. He has a bald head with chops and a mustache. His fur is dark brown and his tail and beard are black. He's wearing massive chains around his neck with what looks like padlocks keeping it together. I have no words. So I think about the room itself. It looks like an organized and comfortable place, with numerous documents and picture frames stating one Dr. Payne is a psychologist, physiologist, physician, masseuse, dietitian, and many other things. Now I've been told about your past, and I gotta say, you're messed up good. So Dr. Payne's here to listen, so talk, fool! He bellows before sitting on the floor with a huge thump. About what? I ask, trying to put up a defense against this presence beyond description. Jeez. Whatever you want, Colt. Dr. Payne is here to help. Starting at the start's a good way to get moving, he announced, and I nod, getting used to it already, amazingly. How much were you told about me? I have to assume that much of my past is a secret, considering how odd it is. I say, and I hear him grunt. I've heard fully grown dragons grunt more softly. I was told everything. You're the life, you're the world, where all those cuts and breaks come from. I know what you were, and I don't care. You need help, so I'm gonna give it, and that's that. He says in a slightly softer tone. Granted, this down softer tone could be heard 2 miles off. Pretty much since the day I was born, I was surrounded by death. I remember catching a frog and it dying in my hands as I brought it to my mother. Everyone caught on quick and no one was willing to come near me. Even my family was afraid. I tell him, wondering what the hell this is supposed to accomplish. That's their own fault. If you couldn't control it, then it was their job to get you help. If they didn't, then they were fools. He replies quickly, and with such conviction that I found myself kind of believing him. What next? He demanded, before I can really think I answer. Well, I was mostly shifted off to the village scribe and elder to copy books. It was a swamp farming village, everyone had to help, and there was no room for anyone over 6 who didn't pitch in. I tell him, and I hear a scratching sound. It reminds me of a quill on parchment. Keep talking, he tells me as he writes. I was a little lonely, but it was only physical contact that I was mostly denied. And my family was brave enough to try that, at least. I explained, and there's a sigh from him. So long, lonely foalhood with responsibility driving you forward. Duty's all fine and dandy for building yourself up with, but you more than just that, or you crack under the pressure. He tells me, and I must admit, I'm shocked that I'm getting good advice from someone so, like, this. Now what next? The next big thing was the run-in with Edmund Leonidas. Started off easily enough. The night he was serving and I asked for a copy of the registry, and I overheard Edmund make a snide comment about the village as I fetched it. I snorted at that, but he took offence. He then insulted me directly, which I returned in an instant. he became hell-bound and determined to get the last word, and even though I answered every jab and bob with one of my own, I explain, and the scratching grows faster. I am hoping that Knight had the sense to stop this fool, Dr. Payne says, and I nod. Eventually, the Knight Sir Drevin dragged him away and apologized to the Elder. This is also around the time I was first learning a few spells, so I wasn't accidentally killing everything that came near me. I didn't see Edmund again for nearly 15 years. Wait, why was I talking so much? Was there some kind of magic this unicorn was working? That's a long time for any fool to keep a grudge, he remarked, and the scratching came to a stop. Yes, it was, and a lot happened in those 15 years. He distinguished himself as a war hero, and I became a wandering mage trying to figure out the secrets of the universe through magic. I continue, and there's a clutching feeling in my chest. I was told about your second run-in with him. Was he really such a wuss to let the army go at you, even though it was clear between stallions? He asked, almost growling, and I just nod. What a wussy fool! He mutters, completely upset. You want to keep going? He asked me, and I sigh. Why not? After that, I actually had a couple more peaceful years, with only a few run-ins with other necromancers to make any note. Though it was from one of them that I picked up a scroll detailing how to make a proper phylactery. Do you know what that is? I continued, then asked him. Luna told me, and I agree with what you called it. The coward's way out. He grunted, and I nodded. I guess this disdain for proper phylacteries is universal common ground. Long story short, I reverse-engineered the rebirth spell from it. I took the aspects that anchored the soul and infused it with enough energy to either revive or rebuild the body. But without dying in the first place, it meant that the spell had a time limit. I explain. If Luna had already explained, then he knows this. Your mother told me as such. She also said you'd later figure out how to put it in the rocks. Did you do that often? She asks, and I sigh. It wasn't for a solid 50 years until I got that trick down. But then I was one of the most wanted criminals on the continent, I admit, and there's a different scratching sound, and I think he just scratched the side of his head. Then it's back to quill on parchment. What happened the first time some fool hurt you enough to kill you? He asked me, and I sighed to myself. Actually, the first group of bounty hunters I ran into pulled it off. I was still just wandering around my nose in a book. Then, before I know it, someone screams out my name, and I look up to see some young idiot with a spear and chainmail standing in the middle of the road. I looked around, and I spotted someone in the tree line and two others on the road behind me, all of them with weapons. I explain, and there's a pause in the writing. Does this memory include your name in it? He asked me carefully, and I shake my head. No. When I severed my name, I took away all memory of it. But I know he shouted my name, I tell him before deciding to continue. He asked me if I really was me, and when I answered yes, the guy in the tree shot me in the shoulder. I ran. I ran a long and hard way from them, and it was only the fact that I'd been living on the road for so long that I got away. I thought this was how you died the first time, Dr. Payne asked in a respectful tone. I grin. It is. Just because I got away doesn't mean I survived. You see, just after I lost them, my vision started swimming. The arrow had been poisoned. I crawled into a cave to try and pull it out, but it didn't help. I did everything I could to cast a rebirth spell, and by a miracle I pulled it off in time. I tell him before shivering. It had been so cold. There's nothing colder than waking up dead. The blood in your veins is like ice, and you feel like you'll never be warm again. Was there ever a time when you woke up warm? He asked me, and I nod. I'm smiling, but I'm not sure why. When? Here. In Equestria, I mean. It's just so different here. I'm really helpless for the first time since I was, 10 maybe? But there's been nothing horrible has happened. Everything's ended well, and I've lived from one breath to the next with song that there's nothing here, but everything, too. The only thing that happened was whisked away to be dealt with by someone else. I admit, mostly complaining as it all pours out of me without my being able to stop it. So you're getting antsy, waiting for something to happen and jumping because there was always something nasty in the shadows before. Can I guess that some fool tried to trick you before? He asks, and I nod. Edmund's son tried that stunt. He rescinded the bounty and set out word that he wanted to talk to me, so I was naive enough to give it a try. Big mistake. Luckily by then I could make my phylacteries. I hid it in an abandoned mine before going. That's all that saved my life. I went and had an audience with him as he asked my side of the story. He had a fake habit of clucking his tongue, which when he looked up while clucking signaled some hidden snipers. I continue, trying to figure out why I'm talking so much. All right. This is well known to my enemies, and if one is here, then they're going to listen for a bit and give me some time more protest and give themselves away. So was it instant? Dr. Payne asks, and I sigh. No, I get a feeling of paranoia for a moment, and I jumped back. The crossbows didn't get me. The castle collapsing did, I say with a slight chuckle. That was one of my few good deaths. Nearly instant, very cathartic, and it gave me a full 5 years to myself. Why would the castle collapse? You did that, didn't you? He asks, and I grin. Way to take down the fools. I bet it didn't help your rep much. Dr. Payne remarks, and I can feel him grinning. Actually, it took Edmund's son a good 5 years to learn that not only was I still alive, but healthy. That's when the bounty finally topped 10,000. Not bad, considering it started out as 100, which was barely worth the time to track down. I continue, and there's a ringing sound. That's it for time, but we're going to be doing 2 more things. Dr. Payne says as his chains clink as he stands up. First, I'm going to hug you. Then you're going to hit me. He says, and before I can question, he's squeezing the life out of me. I gather energy to crush his life spark as I feel my spine and wings pop up. Before I can cast, he says, let me go. Now hit me, he says as I'm standing flabbergasted on the bed. What? I ask, shocked at the quick turn of events. What is wrong with this guy? Hit me in the jaw, fool. It helps. He tells me, and I shrug at his insanity, rear back and let him have it. He rolls well with the punch, and there's a throbbing sound from his jaw. Got a good right hook there. How do you feel now? He asks me, and I consider for a moment. Like I've thrown up all over the room and then punched the one responsible. I tell him, and there's chuckling. Ha ha! Good. That means you're starting to get better. You gotta confront the past and move past it. He tells me in that bombastic voice of his as he throws an arm around my shoulders. Now I want you to break that enchantment on your mind. It's more hurting than helping. He says, and I push his arm off and step away. No. Just no. I tell him, and he sighs. That spell may be helping you act like an adult, but it's also going to stop any healing magic used on your head. So you gotta choose between acting like an adult or your eyes and magic. He tells me, and my jaw dropped. What a choice. I mutter, and I let my legs collapse out from under me. Hey, now, don't be a fool. The best things take a whole lot of time and suffering to get it right. You got necromancy right, now you gotta get back to living. He tells me, but I still have one major point to raise. This spell is the only thing stopping me from doing something very stupid. It's the only reason I'm not panicking in the unending darkness. It's the only reason I have any form of self-control. I tell him, and he grunts. True. You don't want to screw up. No one wants to screw up. Still, you're going to die by inches if you don't let go. He tells me there's a knocking at the door. I feel a slight surge of magic from Dr. Payne, and the door swings open. Luna! Good to meet you, Moon Baby. Just tried to convince your baby to let go of that head spell of his. Was it a good session? She asked him, and I can pretty much feel Payne grin. Oh yeah, got him talking and he started to heal. He's been through a lot, though, so it'll take a while to get it all done. Dr. Payne announces, and I shoot him a dirty look. I'd have an easier time of it with eyes. Before you say anything, I will give you my word that I will keep you safe when you drop the spell. She tells me, and I breathe deeply, huffing as I remind myself time and again, this is not where I come from. It isn't, and even if it was, I'm so different that no one could possibly recognize me. There was a spell for things like this. I kind of remember it. I never got it right, though. But I can use its weaker form to detect rather than force. What are you doing, fool? Dr. Payne asks as I begin channeling magic. It's a spell that detects lies, I say through gritted teeth. Now say it again while I'm channeling. Ah! I gasp out in pain, feeling like there's a nails being driven into my skull. I give you my word as goddess of the moon that I will keep you safe so long as you remain in Equestria, Luna says solemnly. There's no deception, and I let the spell end. The headache fades after a little bit. All right, then. I'll cancel the mind spell, I say and focus for a moment. There's a distinct shattering noise in my mind, similar to a mirror breaking. Then in a rush, the darkness enters. I'm trapped in what seems to be the shadows leering at me. I start breathing heavily, images of old enemies and monsters rushing at me through the shadows I'm trapped in. Then it stops. It takes me a moment to realize why. Luna's holding me, and now that I'm not fighting it, it feels safe. I can feel her heartbeat through her chest as she holds me close. I feel her warmth as strong arms hold me up. Why does this feel safe? She said she'd keep me safe, and she wasn't lying. It's hard to believe, but it's true, and I cancelled the spell. I should not have cancelled the spell. I can hear something moving in the shadows. I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have, I say, my voice quivers as I try and find the things I know are lurking in the shadows. I cast a fourth sight spell, nothing odd. Oh no, they know how to hide. They know when to hide. If they know when to hide, they know what I'm planning. If they know what I'm planning, they're going to strike. If they're going to strike when I don't have a phylactery, then I'm going to die. I brought this. Maybe it'll help, Luna says, and I feel a bit of magic used, and something is in front of me. I grab it and find a gemstone in my hoof. My breath pauses for a moment when I realize what she's given me. Then I start channeling as much magic as I can, despite the agonizing headache, and force a rebirth spell into the stone. In my imagination, I see a huge dog biting me on the head, and the jaw slowly coming together. Then it's done. The spell is complete. I'm safe? Maybe. Hopefully. Kinda. Oh dear God, I hope so. You alright, fool? Dr. Payne asks, and I shake my head. No. I'm reduced to a mostly child mindset due to the physical impact that the new, not fully developed brain is putting me through. It's just being well and truly blinded without magic the most terrifying thing I've ever been in. I tell him, my voice breaking, and I feel like I'm about to cry from terror. Then it ends. It just ends. What the? You do remember that dreams are something I control, right? Luna asks me, and I shake my head. I had forgotten. I just made your little daydream stop. Oh. That would do it. Hold on a second. She's in my head! Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Take stock of the situation. Joints, stiff and creaky, so normal. Skin, covered in mildly itchy fur, the new normal. Eyes, gone and the sockets are aching. Hands, gone. Feet, gone. Horns, broken. Wings, torn membranes. Aura, a bit out. Soul Drinker magic is attacking, so... Wait, what? Oh shit, okay, calm down. You've dealt with this before. Just focus some necrotic energy into the Soul Drinker pattern and kill it. Okay, I think it's gone. I hope it's gone. I really do. I'm taking you back to your room. We'll store a phylactery in a safe place and you can snack on some cinnamon rolls. She says, and I can't help but perk up at the mention of cinnamon rolls. Thank you for your services, Dr. Payne. No problem, Moon Baby. You bring him back for a few more sessions now. We made some real progress today. He half bellows out and I flinch back from the noise. Sorry, little colt. He quickly apologizes, mussing out my hair and pulling his hoof back in an instant.